Welcome back to the podcast. I have taken a couple weeks off for the holiday season and we are back in the studio, ready to record, ready to answer more of your questions. So today I have a few questions that were submitted by viewers like yourself. You can always come and hang out with us inside of our Facebook group, ask questions there, and I will hop on here and answer those for you. You can also just put your questions in the comments below this video, and I will collect those for an upcoming video as well. Let's dive into this. The first question here is from Jennifer, and her question is, what are some essential supplies that I need when I am starting out? So great question. It's a question we all have when we first start. Oftentimes I find that we end up buying way too many things, right? If you have the resources to do that, certainly fine. We have a supply list for you in the show notes below of every episode, but in this one specific, we have a supply list that is our candle supply list of all the tools and resources that we use to run our candle business with. You can download that completely for free, and it gives you the list of everything from wax to wicks to where to get vessels from, all of the different suppliers that we like to use, as well as a lot of just random items that you're going to need, such as wick centering tools, the wick stickers that we use, the wicks that we use, different oils, the thermometers that we use, the scales, the melters, all of that stuff. So some of the items you're not going to need right away. You do not need to go out and buy a wax melter. You can use the double boiler method, which is essentially boiling water on your stove, then having a pouring pitcher of wax above that gets melted. The only thing with that is you're not going to have consistent temperatures when you do that on the stove. So that's one of those bigger ticket items that I would recommend getting sooner in your journey than later, because a lot of the frustration when it comes to making candles is on the synthro, and a lot of that has to do with pouring at the right temperatures, getting your wax to the right temperature. So the supply list for you is there to download. Also, you'll see a link for a discount for 2 auto wax melters. We are huge fans of theirs, and we have an exclusive link for you in the show notes that can save you an additional, I believe, 5% at checkout. So whatever their current promotion is, you'll save on top of that just by being part of the Candle Business Pro family. Next question here is from Victoria Reyes. And your question, Victoria, is how does one go from friends and family to public sales? So that's a great question. Oftentimes when we are building our business, that's who we are selling to at first, is our friends and our family. And then once that those sales dry up, we need to look to get our products into the hands of strangers that we want to convert to customers that we then want to convert to being super fans that are going to come back and buy all the products that we put out there. So what platform are you the most comfortable with? Now, of course, we have to do social media. I don't like social media, but we have to do social media. Depending on who your customer is, think about where they're going to be at most. Is that TikTok? Is that YouTube? Is that Instagram, Facebook? I'm in Instagram and Facebook. That's the demographic for my customer. Even though TikTok is made for all ages, I'm not good at the short form video. I know my strengths and my weaknesses. And so my customers aren't necessarily on TikTok as much as they are on probably Facebook. My demographic of my customers usually leans a little bit older, I believe, that are buying my candles. That's just who I'm going after. I'm going after the women boutique shoppers that are going to be in that 38, 55 plus range. And of all the platforms out there, if you have the capacity to be on all of them, fantastic. But I always recommend just being on 2. Be on 2 platforms to get started and get a base going. So that's as far as social media goes. But as far as how to get public sales outside of social media, and of course, outside of the friends and family, doing markets is fantastic. Doing fundraisers is fantastic. Inside the Inner Circle, we have workshops on both of those, on how to do fundraisers. I give you the exact script that we use there. Also, there's a workshop on doing private label, corporate gifts. There's so many different ways of selling your candle. You can go right into wholesale. That's what we did when we first launched our candle business. It was February 26th and middle of winter here in Michigan. And there wasn't any markets to do until May. So after we sold that first week into our friends and family, we needed to get our business out there. And I really went right into wholesale. And that's how we've acquired as many wholesale accounts as we have so far. 3 years it took us to, we're at 160 accounts. This year, we are hoping to get to 225. Last week, we talked about our goals for the year. We have a goal workshop. We actually have two of them inside the inner circle. One where we reflect back on the previous year and we dive into all of that. And then we have the one looking forward. And so in that workshop, if you watch that, we talked about our goal for a wholesale is going to be to get to 225 accounts this year. So that is an option for you to go as well. So lots of different ways of selling besides just your friends and family, but you have to do what makes what you're comfortable with, right? First, getting started, because you're going to need to get those initial sales. So fundraisers are super, super easy to do. If you have the right script and the right nonprofits to reach out to, I highly recommend do that. So if you wanted to join the inner circle just to watch that workshop and grab our scripts out of there, it's definitely going to be worth your money to do that there. All right. So the next question here is from Danielle Oliver. And her question is, what do people look for in a luxurious candle? All right. So I am not a fan of how much luxury is thrown around in the candle space. Me personally, I think of luxury as something that is hard to obtain for the majority of the population, which is totally fine to do, because that means you are setting a specific niche, right? So think of what's luxury in the world that we think about. The type of cars that are luxury, those high-end cars, handbags, the Louis Vuitton and the Gucci's, the Pradas, the Fendi's, all of those are considered luxury, right? There are some that are going to be those mid-grade that want to possibly come across as like designer, and that's totally fine. Like, you have those, let's say Michael Kors and Coach, those that are obtainable by more of the population. They're still designer, they're still nice, but I wouldn't call them luxury. So when I look at candles, I think the same thing. I'm going to go with the diptychs and Beau Spa. Those candles that are $75 to $100 for a 3-ounce votive, like something I would never spend the money on myself personally. I would consider that more luxury. That if I just had a whole lot of revenue or money just sitting around that I wanted to spend on a candle that's going to burn for 10 hours, then maybe I would do that. They're statement pieces. They are there for you as an individual, but it's also for them to tell a story to the rest of the public. When you see someone with a Louis Vuitton bag or a Gucci bag or wearing, red bottom shoes, they're doing it for themselves too, because it makes us feel good, right? But they're also doing it for others to see and recognize. And it's just, hey, this is where I'm at in life. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what this is about. This is just talking about what people are looking for in a luxurious candle. I see a lot of people go with the affordable luxury, and that's fine. I personally I don't use luxury in any of the branding, any of the marketing, any of the communication that I ever have with customers, because I believe luxury is something that is self-defined. So if we are trying to put out there to people, hey, this is a luxury line of candles or a collection that I have created, it's on them to decide if it's luxury or not. Is it something that's not as easily to obtain, or can anyone get it, right? So I don't think using the term luxury adds luxury to any brand that uses it. Actually, back to what people would be looking for, it would be unique, elevated scents that are probably going to take your mind somewhere. That's why a lot of the hotel collections that brands will put out are, the image they give off is going to be a little bit more luxurious, right? It's taking you to a space. It's taking you to a reminder of location, whether that's Disney resorts or other high-end four-season type of hotels or retreats across the world. I think that's going to be what is going to get you there. It's going to be this sense. If I have a southern apple pie scent, I'm not thinking luxury with that, just as an example of what the alternative would be for there. I wouldn't consider the majority of our scents as luxury. We have a couple lines. We have our Aurora line. And for that would be the most luxurious line that we have in our brand. And so to answer your question, I'll kind of define what that is. In those candles, we are using a higher end wax. We are using the coconut wax in those. It's going to perform better. It's going to give a better physical appearance. The wax looks better. The scent throw is much better. We use wooden wicks in those. I don't do wooden wicks in the rest of our candles because it's just really too inconsistent, but we do in those. It comes in a really nice vessel. It's a larger candle that we use. It's a 10-ounce pour versus some of our others that are going to be like 7. It's actually a 12-ounce pour in those. It's a nicer container that we're pouring those in so that it's a statement piece in someone's home. It's wherever they put it. It's an elevated feel. It gives the space more of an elevated feel as well. We also have laser engraved lids that go on top of those candles. And then they also go into a nice box that is branded as well. So the whole package, that's the candle that people will pick up when they want to gift to someone else. And for a nice gift, that's the candle that people go for. So that's the one that I would consider more luxurious for us. And I think it has the characteristics if you're wanting to build a luxurious brand to pull from. Have higher end vessels that you're not going to see all the time, not anything with a twist top, like a jar. You're not going to want any of that. You're going to want to have nice packaging all around. Even though packaging isn't necessary and we don't use it in a lot of our candles, most of our candles don't have a box. Most of them don't have a lid. Those are just add-ons that, again, luxury is those things that we don't need, we just want. And so that is really what's going to define what a luxurious candle can be and where you can fill up space in that being a niche for you in the market. All right, so the next question here is from Monique Roberts. And the question is, how do I determine the fragrance load percentage when making my candles? So it's trial and error. It depends on what you're going for. Obviously, the more oil you put in, the stronger scent you can potentially get out of there, but it's not always the case. You are going to have to do a lot of testing. So the way we get scent throw is when you match a percentage, a load of oil into the wax, and you have the proper wick size and a line of wicks, because the different lines of wicks burn at different temperatures. They have different characteristics that work for different waxes, right? So simple math is that the more oil you put in, the stronger it's going to be. But it's not necessarily always the case because oftentimes people are using the wrong size wick. But as a good starting point, I would look at pouring at a higher percentage. For us, here's an example for you. For us, we start all of our candles out at 8% fragrance. Okay. We're not trying to go for the strongest. We're just going right middle of the road. Candle burns. It's good. It has good scent throw. It's more cost effective than putting 10, 12% oil in there. We always start at 8%. We test that. We find the right size wick for that load, meaning it's burning properly, doing all of our testing. It's the right size wick for that load. Now, is it giving us the hot throw we want? If not, then we are going to raise that percentage up. Now, when we raise that percentage up, we're going to likely have to adjust the wick as well, because the more oil you have in there, the hotter it's going to burn. So you may actually have to go down a size or two in your wick. You also may need to test different types of wicks for that oil and wax combination. So a lot of factors there, but in general, the fragrance load percentage is going to be based on what you want it to be to start, and then go up if you want stronger, or go down if you can afford to not have as much scent, right? Some people their niche is to make the strongest candles possible. And there's also a niche of people that want a very light candle. So it really depends on the demographic that you're targeting and what is it that they want. What is one of the values of the brand that you're putting out and that you're representing to your customers? That we generally want to stay consistent, right? We don't generally want to have some light burning candles, some strong burning candles. That's when you're going to get a confused customer, because if they have burned through many of your candles and they buy and burn one and it's significantly lighter or significantly stronger, that might throw them off a little bit. So just something to keep in mind when it comes to that. But generally 8%. To answer your question simply, we start at 8% and then we adjust for that. If you go through our candle making course, we start at 8% and then we make some modifications based on those scent throws. So something to keep in mind. You can also find information about that course in the show notes below. Last question here for today's episode is going to be from Kara Shelton. And Kara's question is, what is the right temperature to heat the wax to and when to add scent and pour? Okay, great question. And to get it out of the way, I really like how you mentioned three different things here. There's a temperature that we heat the wax to. Then there is a temperature that we add the oil to. And then there's a temperature that we pour. Okay. Now, I would recommend going to the supplier that you're buying the wax from. Generally, on the product page, they're going to have some really good notes because they want to provide you with the notes so that you have a really well built candle that burns really well. And then you go back and buy more from them, right? So for us, if we are making soy candles, 464, our sweet spot, I'll share the secret with you. Our sweet spot is we heat our wax up to 187. We let it cool down to 185, which is generally just a temperature that's going to drop as we pour from our wax melter into our pouring pitcher. It's going to drop a couple degrees pretty quick. If you're only pouring one or two candles, it'll actually drop really, really quick because you're not going to be putting as much wax into the pitcher. The more hot wax you're pouring into your pouring pitcher, the warmer it's going to stay. It's not going to cool as quick. So we pour ours for like our 10-ounce candles. We are pouring 6 candles at a time. If they're like our 5-ounce tin, we're pouring 10 of those candles at a time. So we're pouring 4 pounds of wax almost into our pouring pitcher. It's going to drop a couple degrees. So we add our oil in at 185, and then we let that cool. We stir it for 2 to 3 minutes minimum. And then we always keep following up as we're going through the cooling process. And then we are going to pour under 140 degrees, ideally at under 135 degrees is where we pour. Every wax is different. With our coconut candles, it's completely different temperatures for that. So I highly recommend looking at what your supplier recommends on their notes. Because every wax is going to be different. Some waxes you can mix and pour right away. With soy, the 464 that we use for a lot of our candles, if it's too hot when you pour, the wax and that oil is separated still. It'll blend, but it has to cool down to stay blended. And so that's one of the keys. If you don't get that full blend and the temperature to drop, your wax and your oil is separating, which is when you're going to get one of those candles that burns well at first. But then as you go through it, you end up kind of losing the scent. So that's kind of why that happens. And so every wax can be a little bit different. So just keep that in mind. Look to the supplier. Also just reach out to us about a specific wax and we'll try to help you if it's one that we have a lot of experience on. So in our candle making course, we actually have an entire guide on by which wax you're using, the temperatures you need to go to, the adding of the scent, and then also the pouring temperature. The pouring temperatures is really what's important as well as just getting your wax to the right temperature. Hopefully this has helped you out today answering these few questions here. We'll be back next week with either more questions or another hot topic for us to cover. Thank you so much. As always, you can visit candlebusinesspro.com to get lots of free resources. We have our supply list. We have our free calculator on how we do candle math. That's completely free for you. And you can also join some of our other paid courses. We have our candle making course, our wholesale course, and the Inner Circle, which is our growing community of candle makers that are building and growing big businesses. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.